Okay. And then can you talk about the upcoming angelic healing class? What's it about?
The angelic one is this week. Oh, it's the next one. So the angelic healing is basically we're going to go through and look at the mechanics that impact working with angels. And working with angels, we've been talking about the three brain components and everything. People think different things about working with angels. One of the things that you could say the most, like if you were to just boil it down, like what does it do? Like what are you doing? Basically, what you're doing when you work with any sort of angel is you're refining and upgrading, regulating your instinctive responses, right? And so it undoes the conditioning of things in the past, and just how, like we were talking about with Barbara, where she basically, for the ones that didn't hear on the weekend, she was driving and she turned and made like a left, or I think it was a left, but she turned into oncoming traffic, like she misgauged the island and started going down the wrong side of the road. And she had a little bit of like, ugh, but she kept her head. She was very calm, and she took an action that minimized it very quickly, and she got out of the situation very quickly. So basically, she didn't get triggered and she didn't get panicked. And so working the three brains really helps to refine that. But one of the reasons why we work with angels is it's always about refining specifically the instinctive responses, the things that trigger us, the things that make us make bad decisions and do it really quickly. And so we're working with how your homeostasis mechanism is, like how good it is at stabilizing things and how good it is about letting something in. We're refining how well your basic chakra, which is tied to like defense oriented, like protecting the body. Um, it can get overly rigid, and again make us do and behave in ways that it's not something we choose, we just kind of react. And so by going through and treating this, it refines those reactions, helps us to be more present, and helps us to utilize more of our brain rather than being in a state of reaction all the time. So when you look at back in the day, there's this old alchemist that Hermes, but not the one from the Greek tradition. It's more associated with like Egyptian and other sorts of practices. And this being under a different name is the being that gave the Kabbalistic teachings to Abraham for the Jewish tradition. He's the modern day compiler of the Nyingma Buddhist tradition. I mean, he is the being that you would also know as Hanuman. He's the being you would also know as Saint Germain. And in this time when he was talking about, there's three things that if you wanted to spiritually grow and evolve and reduce your suffering, you work three things. One, the practice of theurgy, which is the working with angels. Two, the practice of astrology, a little bit different than how we think of astrology now. And then third is alchemy. And if we look at it from the three brain perspective, the practice of working with angels refines our instinctive responses. Working the planetary energies like we did in the weekend for the body mapping, you're refining how you feel. You're going from lower emotions, which are driven more by your physiology and past conditioning, and you're cultivating a higher sense of well-being, and you're developing the heart. So this idea of astrology is the development of higher emotion. And then the practice of alchemy is tempering and regulating and basically learning how the brain works, and then using it as an ally rather than an adversary. And when you put those three together, that person usually grows very quickly. both spiritually, but also becomes like happier, has more joy in their life, is able to reduce patterns in their life, be it from their you know generational upbringing to things going on in society, their past conditioning from traumas and things like that. And so we've been doing this for a while. We've been working the angels. We've been angels and materialization breath, I would put together, by the way. Not for the class, but I'm just saying working the materialization breath and working angels, you're doing something very similar. And then the astrological component is the development of the higher emotions. And then we're constantly doing alchemy to keep refining our thought processes, just like how we were talking about earlier with Barbara, where there's a state and then there's function. The state is tied more to the left side of your brain, and you know how like you go, oh, I just want to be comfortable. That's the state. And then when you're thinking about like, how do I refine this? What do I do? How do I take action? How do I bring this in? That's more the right side of the brain, the functional side of the brain. And alchemy is basically about the merging of the two. You're constantly just trying to find different ways to merge these two pieces. And so when you do this, you feel very present, you feel very peaceful, you feel happy, you feel joy, you feel a sense of well-being. And even when difficulty happens, you just kind of innovate or walk your way out of it. So that's it in a nutshell.